When I earned my PhD, I was in that role. I didn't tell people for months that I had earned a doctorate degree because I didn't want them to think I was like, oh, so now we got to call you doctor and da. So even before we get into sustaining high performance without sacrificing your well-being, it's about first and foremost knowing who you are and knowing the value that you bring to the table. And not always shrinking, not always looking for people saying, oh, well, they have it and I don't, but no, you do have it.
Good evening. Happy Wednesday, my winners and goal getters. Welcome to this week's edition of the Getting the Win Show. I'm your host, Melissa T, the procrastination bully. And my mission with the show, as always, is to help women who have navigated a trauma or transition find healing through writing and publishing their first book. And in today's episode, I'm talking with Dr. Jessica Houston, who has not only navigated traumas and transitions, but she's also a 2-time author with a third on the way. So we get into all of that in this episode. Please take notes on this one. Jessica drops so many gems here. She has quite a powerful and inspiring story. And she even talks about something that is inspiring for me and something that I have not covered very often on this show. So definitely tune in for that part of the conversation. But she talks about the importance of self-leadership, the importance of self-accountability. So if that's something that you need, be sure to tune into that. But in this episode, we're getting into escaping abuse and adultery. We're getting into that self-motivation piece, the self-accountability, self-leadership, the transition from corporate to entrepreneur, and even the power of the pivot. So you'll definitely enjoy this one. Tune in, take all the notes you need. And of course, as I always do with my guests, we'll have the information to connect with her on the screen and in the show notes. So enjoy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, I have Dr. Jessica Houston in the building. And yes, the doctor is real. She did earn that. Dr. Houston, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've been trying to arrange this for quite some time now. I love the work that you're doing. So tell our audience, introduce our audience to you. What is your area of expertise? What problem do you solve and who do you solve it for?
Yes. So I am first and foremost, I always start with this. I am a licensed social worker, right, by trade. And that has impacted everything I've done because they prepare us well. So I'm a licensed social worker. I'm a professor, a professional speaker, and executive coach. So my focus over the last couple of years has been helping leaders and their teams sustain high performance without sacrificing their well-being. I started out as a women's empowerment speaker, and if I can be real with y'all, I loved it, but it didn't pay enough money. so
real.
change that. And I still get to work with groups of women, but these are corporations who want me to empower their women. And so that makes a huge, huge difference.
Man, I love, there's already a gem in there. So let me just highlight this for you watching or listening. You mentioned in there the power of the pivot. You were like, okay, this is the audience I love, but the math is not mathing. So I'm gonna have to adjust. And you did. And you still technically get to work with your audience, your desired audience. As a follow up to that, how did you make that pivot in terms of your pitches or the opportunities you created to speak corporately? Kind of talk about that.
Yes. So I realized that I already had the content. I was talking a lot, even back then, I was talking about self-care. I was talking about productivity. So really some of the same things, but I phrase it as I am a women's empowerment speaker. Right. And so it was I was talking about resilience. I was talking about a lot of the things that corporations want, that colleges want, that nonprofits want. But my positioning was I am a women's empowerment speaker. So it limited me to only a motivational speaker type thing, which I believe is great for a celebrity motivational speaker. But when colleges are looking for a speaker, when corporations are looking for a speaker, they are looking for a professional speaker, a keynote speaker, a workshop presenter, a facilitator. And so I'm really careful about using that term, motivational speaker.
I
Yeah.
like it.
So
So what? Yeah.
when
What do
I
you use
went, yeah, yeah. So I do not call myself a motivational speaker. I do not call myself an empowerment speaker. One of the things I had to recognize was you've got to do your research on what they are looking for, right? And
now?
so
Hmm.
when you know what your audience needs, you can speak to those needs. And that's what allowed me to pivot. Again, I love creating content, right? So that part wasn't difficult because if I can be honest, I was all over the place. I was a women's empowerment speaker, but it was like, oh, I can talk on this and I can talk about this and I can talk like, so I had like 20 topics. I had like 20 topics.
Wow.
Like I could just speak on anything because I'm a learner, right? And I think I know somebody like that. So it was like, yeah, I do. I know a lot about a lot, but it was keeping me stuck. And so it's like, you got to be known for something. You've got to be an authority on something. And that is what allowed me to really be able to pivot and get paid for it. Because if I can be honest, most speakers are not getting paid like that. They are doing what I did, which is speaking for free or low fee. And I did that for probably 7 years. Like just
Wow.
like it was low fee and it was like, oh, maybe I'll get a good fee, but then it's 5 months and then I'll get another paid one. And it was just like me just spinning my wheels. But when I got clear, and this is the thing I need your audience to understand, like a lot of times your clarity will evolve. So you might be like, I'm clear, I'm clear, I'm clear. And then you're not clear all of a sudden because you got some new information or something happened. And it's like, okay, I need to shift this around. Maybe it didn't resonate. So it's not like a clarity is a one-time thing. It was like
Mhm.
an evolving thing. So I was like, okay, so I'll talk about this. And then I got in and I was talking to people and they were like, well, our teams are struggling with this. And I was like, oh yeah, yeah. And so I was able to get clear in stages, right? And so the clarity that I have now, I did not have even 3 years ago. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. That so in terms of positioning, you're essentially are you saying you're letting the clients know now like I am a corporate speaker? Like what is that way that you're now telling them what
Yes.
you talk about?
Keynote speaker.
Keynote.
Keynote speaker. Because before, when I first started out, I was doing workshops. So I would do a search. So anybody who wants to get started, like I would do a Google search of all of the conferences and then
Hmm.
I would submit a proposal and then they would bring me in to do a workshop. Most of the time you're not getting paid. Now, if you are a speaker who has already been speaking, you've got authority, you've got videos, you've got photos, they will pay you to do a workshop. And
Okay.
people have tapped me to do a workshop and I was like, it's going to still be my keynote. Now, if you want to pay me a keynote fee for a workshop, I'm there. And I was there. I was
I
there. But
like it.
yeah, but I am a keynote because the keynote puts you in front of the entire audience. So they may have 500 people there and then your workshop room may have 30. But if you're the
True.
keynote speaker, you're speaking to everybody in the room. And that's a big difference.
Big difference. Big difference. Thank you for sharing that because that's not often talked about that distinction between workshops and like keynote. You know what I mean? Or even the fact that you can negotiate what you just said. Like, okay, but I'm a keynote speaker. You have to pay me that same rate if all you want is workshop. So thank you for sharing that. That's very important. So talk to me about how you married the experience from being a social worker to now being a speaker. Like help us navigate that journey from social worker to speaker, keynote speaker.
Yeah, so social work is the helping profession.
Yeah.
The only piece, and I was literally thinking about this morning. The only piece I wish they taught more in social work is leadership. So
Oh, good.
they teach you so much. You learn about human behavior. You learn about social issues. You learn how to help people, how to connect people to resources. Like I knew all that counseling, therapy, case management, you name it. I could do it, but they
Hmm.
did not prepare me to be a leader. And so
Wow.
that was the piece that I really, really had to work on. And then in becoming a business owner, I didn't realize that you still need those leadership skills, even if you got virtual assistants. Like, if you're not clear on what you need them to do, you just wasting your money. And I realized, like,
That,
my team got better when I got better at being a leader. Yeah. And so I was in leadership roles as a social worker. I was the coordinator of student services. But again, it was me feeling out, like, how do I do this? Because I wasn't prepared to be a leader.
wow. So what were some things what were some ways that you developed that skill set?
Yeah. So the first part was me just delving into learning all about leadership, like reading the books, joining those groups, watching videos, listening to podcasts, also talking to people who were in leadership roles and really getting some insight from them. Because again, I didn't have that. And like the first time I became a leader, I was thrown into it. I was hired to be a social worker, but the person that hired me, like 3 months in, she took another position and she was like, I am appointing you. And I'm like, huh? So I was like, oh my goodness. But I did it. I did it. And let me tell you a quick story on how all of this turned into what I do now. And that's why you never like take an opportunity for granted, because had she not thrown me into that position, I wouldn't have even known about public speaking. So she threw me into this position where I was managing a grant, and the grant had a professional development component, meaning we had to bring in speakers. And so we would go and watch speakers speak as a keynote, as a workshop presenter. Then we would invite them to speak at our events through our grant. And when I started seeing those checks, and when I tell you I'm an introvert, I'm shy, but I was like, wait a minute, did we pay this man $15,000? Like, he came in for 2 hours. I was like, I've been to school. I got all of these degrees. I don't see that. I hadn't seen that check yet. So it just started me to thinking, like, maybe this is something that you can do. And so it was just a thought at that point. And so it was like, okay, I wrote my book, which that was something I didn't plan to do, but it was a directive from my daddy, God. And so when I wrote that book, then it was like, okay, you got to speak, you got to do this, you got to do that. So there are so many things, and you are the expert at that. There are just so many. It's not just writing the book. There's so much that goes along with it that once I did that, I realized, okay, I really do need to speak. And so I was connected with speakers. I spoke up. I connected with one of the speakers that we brought in like 3 times because he was so good. Listen, he ended up hiring me part-time, all from taking a position I didn't want. Because I was like, I'm a social worker. I got to learn about purchase orders. I got to learn about invoices. But then as a speaker, I know now the back end. I know the back end of what event planners do. I know what event planners look like. So what I saw as, oh my goodness, this is scary, I don't know what I'm doing, was really preparation.
I love that. There is so much in there. There's so much in there. So first of all, I love that you got the bug from seeing the grant, like the
Yes.
like the itemized list, and you're like, wait, this math ain't math, and like I want to see that. I love that. So given what was your specialty as a social worker? It sounds like you were working with school age children. Is that correct?
Yes. So I'm a certified school social worker. And
Okay.
that was my role, was school social work. And then I was thrown into being coordinator of student services / grant coordinator. And
Got
there were
it.
so many things that went with managing a grant, like people
Yeah.
coming in auditing. Like, it was like, oh, I
Yes.
was so overwhelmed. But then again, like, that experience was a game changer for me.
Yeah. And just a quick side note with that part for you watching and listening, we don't often hear about that side that Dr. Houston is talking about. One of my previous guests on the show, Guy Holly, you know him as well. He came on and was talking about the importance of grants. I'm going to mispronounce it. I'm saying grant maintenance. That's not the word. It's like basically you executing the terms of the grants. Like the funder it doesn't just stop at them awarding you the funding. They're going to want to double check to make sure you're actually fulfilling your promise about what
Yes.
you were going to do once you got the funding. So I
Mm-hmm.
love that you were able to see that firsthand, Dr. Houston. That's cool. That's cool. Given the time that you took to study leadership, obviously being thrust into that role as well, talk about how you extrapolate those lessons from what you experienced to what you're teaching women about now, like on the corporate level when you do your keynotes.
Yes. So I was a very shy, introverted, timid person. And my upbringing was, don't do too much, don't be too much, don't try to show off, don't try to. So it was like, I grew up in a very religious family. So there was just so much that I was afraid to unleash the real me. And I believe a lot of women struggle with that. And it took me years. It took me years to like be myself. And it sounds simple, but when I look back, I realize like, Jessica, you have just been the person that you knew everyone wanted you to be. And that's how you showed up every single time. And it was like, oh well, I don't want to, like, I'll give you a great example. When I earned my PhD, I was in that role. I didn't tell people for months that I had earned a doctorate degree because I didn't want them to think I was like, oh, so now we got to call you doctor and da. So, and it was like, and I wouldn't even, like, now I'm like, I'm Dr. Jessica Houston, like, but before there was so much hesitancy. So even before we get into sustaining high performance without sacrificing your well-being, it's about first and foremost knowing who you are and knowing the value that you bring to the table, and not always shrinking, not always looking for people saying, oh, well, they have it and I don't, but no, you do have it. You might not have tapped into it yet, but you have it.
That's good. That's good. So let's dig a little bit more into that family dynamic, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about, cause as you noticed, like it's actually very common for women because of our, in some cases, cultural conditioning, in some cases, religious
Yes.
conditioning, right? So talk about what that dynamic was like at home, and then what your process was for breaking out of that. For like, what were the things you were telling yourself to kind of pull yourself out or give yourself the permission to come out?
Yeah. So I think because I grew up in a holiness church. So this was, you don't need to be wearing lipstick. You don't need to be wearing pants. You can't be wearing those dangling earrings. You're bringing too much attention to yourself. Like, so it was all of those things. So it was like, certainly you're not about to try to drink wine, because the wine that Jesus drank, it was not the wine that we have right now. Like, it was just so like, that I was afraid. Can I just use the word hell? Because this was what they had me. I was so afraid. Like, if I say a curse word, I'm going to hell. If I take a sip of wine, I'm going to hell. If I wear a skirt that's above the knee, I'm going, like, I was living in so much fear that I was suppressing the real me because I was just so afraid. And it wasn't until like I got to know God for myself and read for myself and understand for myself that I was like, oh, I was dealing with religious people. Like it was like I had to do that work. And like my mom, she's not a religious person, but she wanted me in the church. Right. And so when I put two and two together, I was like, oh yeah, mom, you partied too. Like, so it was like she wasn't always like this old, skirts to the floor lady. No, but she wanted me to have that upbringing because that was her upbringing. And so I don't think she realized like how much that environment impacted who I became, because I was just afraid. Like, I don't want to disappoint my pastor. I don't want to disappoint the church members, my family. And so I was just always suppressing who I was and really downplaying my brilliance. Because the word that I would hear growing up was, you think you all that. Like, that was, you think you all that. And so it was like, well, at that point, like, I didn't think I was all that. You must think I'm all that, because I didn't think that I had low self-confidence. Oh, I wasn't thinking that. But I had to like really fight through all of those feelings of, you know, not wanting to make other people feel uncomfortable because I'm shining. And once I was able to navigate that, and once I realized, like, Jessica, you are hurting yourself by not being you. Because this is what happens when you do that. Everyone around you is happy and you're not, because you just literally sacrificed what you want for what everybody else wants. And so I really realized later, like, oh, what you were doing was people pleasing.
Yes.
And so it was like, yeah, so me trying to fit in, me trying to blend in, I was literally lowering my standards because I wanted to be accepted. And that's not fair to me. It's not fair to the people who are watching us or listening to us right now. It's not fair for you to suppress who you really are just so that the people around you are happy. Like, no.
That's powerful. And we all need to remember that part. So you're also a mom at this point. So talk about what that dynamic is like, being an entrepreneur, being a keynote speaker, and even your evolution spiritually. Like, talk about how you've now transitioned that, like, into your motherhood. How does that harmony work now? What does that look like?
It's so funny because like and also let's not mention that, like, I have the old school mom. Like, she just slap you and not even look to see if you fail, you know? So I'm like, parenting is so different. It is so different. I encourage my girls to have a voice, to speak, to share their opinion, because when I was growing up, it was like, you do what I say and that's it. Don't you talk. Because if you ask me a question, now you being grown. Now you talking back. And so it was like, in that sense, my voice was suppressed too, because I was always walking on eggshells. Like, I don't want to tick off my mom. I don't want to tick off my dad. So even though what they said or did might be wrong, let me just hold it. And that transferred into relationships, like being in a physically abusive relationship, sticking around when someone was cheating. Like, it was just like I had all of that stuff built up, and I didn't realize how much it literally impacted my decisions. I know that was a lot, but I just got to tell it.
No, this is good.
I got to tell it like it is.
Good, because this speaks to my mission with the show, which is helping women who have navigated a trauma or transition heal through writing and publishing their books. And a lot of what you've experienced, many other women have experienced too. And it usually starts from childhood. You know what I mean? That sort of, I don't want to rock the boat because I don't want to make them mad. Yes. And then that goes into, to your point about the people pleasing. We just carry that. And I say we because I'm a recovering people pleaser as well. Like, let me tell you something. It took 2 spankings, Dr. Houston, 2. You guys, my parents, I was single digits still. I was like, that's the last time that's happening to me. Like, I just made that promise within myself, and 2. I've been punished since then, you know, like grounded or had privileges taken away or whatever. But as far as the physical stuff goes, that was it. And just like you, I learned to become a chameleon to please whoever I'm dealing with. My teachers, when I was in the military, like my commanders or whatever, like the people, my superiors. In school, making sure, you know, in college, making sure I made like top grades. I was valedictorian for both bachelor's and master's. I'm like, let me overachieve because that's where the confidence comes from, right? Like, people would, you know, say like, you think you all that. And it's like, I just get my all that from achieving something. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm so glad you shared like that journey. So in terms of the 2 relationships, how were you able to free yourself from those? One in which there was abuse and the other in which there was adultery. Like, kind of talk about how you were able to come out of those.
Yeah. So actually it was the same person. So okay. like you, like I graduated from high school at 17. So I had enough credits to where I went to summer school, took 11th grade ELA and 11th grade math. And then I graduated. So I went ninth, 10th, 12th grade, skipped the 11th grade. And so I went to college at 17 years of age. And that is where I met the person who turned my world upside down. And I ended up staying with him for 6 years. And he was physically abusive and cheated on me multiple times. But because I had that low self-confidence, he was on the football team. He was like popular. It was like, and so in my mind, it was like, well, I'm lucky that he's even dating me, because I would look in the mirror and tear myself apart. Like I literally thought I was ugly. Like I was like, who would even want to date me? If I break up with him, who's going to even want to date me? Like, you see, but it's that mind in my brain was telling me like, this is the best that you could do. Like I had no idea that I was settling. Like I didn't recognize that. And it wasn't until once I got my master's degree in social work, I was like, okay, he's still doing the same stuff. And so I moved to a totally different state because I knew, how those cycles go. Like I knew we would break up and get back together, break up. Like he brought a ring, he proposed, and I was like, oh no, I'm over this now. I'm done. So I put that distance between us. And I literally was like, we are starting our lives over right now, Jessica. So that was how I literally got away from that. So it was one person that did all of that. And then when I tell you, it was a lot that I put up with. Extremely jealous, like very, very jealous. He wanted me to call and check in if I was out with my friends. And it was like, he wanted to know where I was. He figured out how to check my messages. Like he was just obsessed. He was obsessed. And initially I thought that was like, he loves me. And that's why. That's what I told myself. And so that was the best decision I could have ever made, was to leave, go to a different state, put that distance between us, and it was only up from there.
So in terms of you leaving, like what was that process? Were you able to do it solo, or did you have a support system that kind of helped you? Kind of talk about that.
So yeah, so my mom, I was actually having this conversation with my daughter today, because I was like, for some reason, I was like, I just want to move to Georgia. Like, and it's like I was doing a lot of traveling. I was like, I was like, I just want to. So when I finished my master's degree, I started applying for jobs everywhere, but it was like, I really want to move to Georgia. And so my mom was very supportive, and she was like, yes, spread your wings. Like, don't think you have to stay here in South Florida. And the great thing is, when I made the move and then I came here, the cost of living was phenomenal. My sister, who is 10 years younger than me, she was like, we got to come up here. So what happened was, within 2 years, like my family was in Georgia with me. So it worked out. Me actually getting the courage to move to an entirely different state alone, didn't know anyone, but I just moved because I got a great job offer, and I would have been able to stay on my own. About Florida, I was like, the salaries they were offering me, I would have had to stay at home for at least a year or two. But the salary they offered me in Georgia, and with the cost of living not being that much, I was able to leave and actually come up here and get my first apartment.
I love it. Like our stories are so similar in that way. Cause I was, I'm in Florida as well I worked in the media industry for 9 years, but even before that, I first moved to Florida after I left the Navy in 2006. So you're talking from 2006 to 2023. So you're talking 17 years. And then similar to you, I wasn't dealing with abuse per se, but I was unfortunately, like in the job, I was unfortunately being like drained, like maxed out. And God had to extricate me. He was like, Georgia, it is. Like, you're going to Atlanta. And same, like, moved up there, lower cost of living, of course, rented a place. And like, that was where the wings spread. Like, I like regained my voice and remembered who Melissa was in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Was that did you experience something like that? Like after you got out of that relationship?
Yes, but I had so much growing to do. Like, because my self confidence was so low, I had a lot of work to do on myself. And it wasn't until I actually, once I got married and I was pregnant with my first daughter, that's when I really knew I had to tackle the confidence piece. I had that, confidence where it was not real. It was like, I would dress up, I would have, I would look confident, but really I wasn't. So I carried that mask for many years. Most people would have thought I was confident even in college because of the way I presented myself. But when it was just me in the mirror, when it was just me, like the words that I was saying to myself about myself, it was clear that I was not confident at all.
When did you decide to change that self-talk? Because that sounds like that's the first step that knocked over all of the other dominoes. So talk about that.
Yeah, it was absolutely the turning point for me was having my first child and recognizing that you are going to be mentoring, leading, parenting someone, and you've got some stuff you got to work on. So that's when my personal growth journey started.
Okay.
That's when I knew, okay, you've got to do a better job of working on you, not just pretending to be happy, not just pretending to be confident, but really actually owning that. And so that's when I was able to make that change. Yeah.
Awesome. So was it strictly getting deeper into the word? Because obviously there was that transition. You talked about that, like getting to know God for yourself. Did you get into therapy? Like what was that transformation process for you?
So yeah, absolutely getting to know God for myself. And really like praying and reading the Bible and watching sermons. And I actually got into a church that was totally different from the kind of church I grew up in. And it was a teaching church. So like my church was a holiness, knock you down on the floor. It was, so this church was not like that religious kind of church. You could wear jeans. I was like, I love it. I love it. I love it. So that's what really sparked the personal development. And he did a lot of teaching, around personal growth combined with the word of God. So it helped me to really say, okay, yeah, you want to work on yourself. And so that's cause like now when I tell you I am a personal development, like I love it. I can eat it, sleep it all day, talk about it all day. I love it. And so, that's when the change happened. And so it's been like my daughter will be 14 in a couple of months. So it's been a journey. It's been a journey. And that's when once I had her, I literally finished my PhD. I started doing my I started just, it accelerated. She accelerated what was already in the plan for me. But it's about first me recognizing that I could do it and that I was worthy of that thing that I wanted, because I often would look at other people. I'm like, oh, she's so good at speaking. Oh, she's so good at coaching. Oh, and it was like, if you would try it, then you'd recognize what you're good at. Because a lot of times people just look and they're like, oh, well, I'm not a good writer, for example. Like people would, oh, I wanted to write a book for 10 years. And I'm like, well, why haven't you done it? Oh, well, I'm not a good, well, they got editors. What are you talking about? Start writing the book. So, but it's like, we just come up with all of these reasons why. Well, why do you need to do it? Somebody is waiting on you to share your story. Your story can change everything for somebody. Like my first book, It's titled Women's Secrets. It's Time to Stop Suffering in Silence. And so many people were like, oh my goodness, thank you. Like I was sharing my story, but I was also like challenging women to become the best version of themselves that they could. And so it was almost like therapy for me, if I can say it. Like writing that book, and when I looked at it and I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I did this. I can't believe. So yeah, it was a great experience for me. Yeah.
Beautiful. So for you, for that first one, what was that process? Was it strictly typing? Were you voice recording?
Yeah.
Did you do it in a short window of time? Did it take like a year? Like talk about what that was like.
Yeah, it was a short period of time. I used to be one that I used to have to write everything, but when I was working on that PhD, I was like, no, you're gonna have to learn how to think and type. And when I learned that skill of thinking and typing, like it was a game changer. So that's how I wrote my book, and it was just really me first. I got the title as a download, right? So I got that title, and then I was like, okay, I got the title, and I outlined the chapters, and then I just started pouring. So really, it was about, I would say, maybe 5 months, that span of when I got it done. And I was like, okay, I'm going to find somebody to do. I found a company that did everything I needed done. And so I was like, okay, let's get it done. Now, the one thing I wish I had done was figured out how I'm going to sell it. Because when I first launched it, of course, everybody was so excited. So they were just flying off like, ooh, buying it, buying it, buying it. And then after a couple of months, I was like, okay, now I got to sell these books. So that's the part I wish I would have put more time into. I was just thinking like, I got to get the book done. I got to get the book out.
That's good. That's so important. And that's a common thing for authors, because obviously authors are not marketers, right? Like we have to, it's
Yeah.
something we have to learn. It's a skill we have to acquire, or like you have to hire. either you acquire the skill or you hire somebody that already has it. Ideally both. Like it would be really good if you're in a position to do both. But for sure, obviously we're talking on camera, you have a new book coming out. So tell our audience about that, and please share with them how you set that deadline, because that story was amazing.
Yes. So I have a new book coming out that is focused on sustainable high performance. So I am an achiever. I've always been an achiever. I've always been a go-getter. But one of the things I've recognized about achievers is they are at higher risk for being stressed out, being overwhelmed, being burned out, not getting enough rest, not taking care of themselves. And so in this book, I'm going to really be sharing the strategies of like, how do you sustain high performance? So I landed a keynote that I'm going to be doing June 2026. Right. This started it was a virtual talk first, right? They wanted me to do a virtual talk. The person that hired me for the virtual talk is not the same person that hired me for the in-person keynote. This is going to be like 4,000 healthcare professionals in one room. And so when I did the virtual talk, I delivered, I went in, and the person who is the chair for the in-person conference, like within 5 minutes of me getting off of that Zoom, she was like, this is the date. These are the dates. Do you have any availability on any of these dates? And I was like, and so, yeah, that's how it worked. And then, so we ended up having a conversation about everything that they offer. And she was like, yeah, we'll do your travel. We'll do your lodging. You'll do a 60-minute keynote. You'll have a magazine feature in our magazine. And following the keynote, you will have a 1 hour book signing. And I'm like, wait a minute, 4,000 people, 1 hour book signing. My first two books do not relate to my current topic. I got to write a new book, and it's got to be ready to go by May. So I'm like, yep, it's got to get done. It, like, for me to have this type of opportunity and go with my two books that don't relate, like, it doesn't make any sense. It's got to get done. And I've been teaching on this content. I have the content. That's not the issue. It is me sitting down and blocking off the time to get it done. Yeah.
I love it. So have you repurposed your existing content already? Like, did you do like transcripts and stuff?
I do. I have all of that. I have the title. I have the chapters, like the same way I did it before. So everything is outlined. It's just a matter of me going in and getting it done. Getting it done.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And your deadline may have to be earlier than May, because if you're talking a room of 4,000 people, I don't know how many copies of the book you want sold, but
Yeah.
like at least several hundred, if not the full 4K.
Yeah.
And
I would
it's a
definitely.
while to print. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm definitely not printing out a couple thousand books. Like, that's definitely not happening. But it'll be like, okay, we're out of books, but you can buy them on Amazon or something. But yeah, we're not going to do that. But I mean, then they'll also have virtual people watching as well. So yeah.
Got it. That's great. That's great. That's great. So let's talk about what else you have going on now and what your plans are for the book. Obviously, keynote speaker, right? Mm-hmm. You have this new one coming out that will kind of attach itself to your speaking. What other goals do you have coming up or lined up in 2026?
Yes. So I am going to offer more coaching services, particularly for emerging women speakers who want to actually land paid speaking engagements. It's something I have coached on before, but it would be like, I'll offer coaching, I'll get one cohort done, and then I'm like, oh, I got to focus on speaking. So because speaking is like, it's my thing, it's like I'll do the coaching for a little bit, and then it's like, okay, I got to get back to the speaking. But my desire is to have a company that has a coaching arm and a speaking arm. And I'm going to have to do what it takes to keep the coaching part going. The speaking part, I got that down. I've been doing it for a very long time. The coaching part, I have that down, but I also know what it takes to launch successfully. And if I can be honest, it's a lot. And so I'll be like, oh, girl, do you really want to do this? And it's like, you got to do it. You got to do it. And so one of the things I'm going to do this time around is I'm going to leverage ads, which is something I hadn't done before. The organic marketing is a lot. The reach, you already know, they suppress. And it's just like, I'm just going to pay to play next year. And I'm going to run ads. And I'm going to do my master classes, and I'm going to build my email list up, because I have a list, but it's not where I want it to be. Like, so I'm like, I know the things that I need to do, and I have to execute, because that's the thing that kept me stuck for a very long time. When I wasn't really making a lot of money, it all came back to, I wasn't executing like I needed to execute. I would learn. Let me tell you something. Learning is a blessing, but it can also slow you down if you don't know how to like compartmentalize it. Like, okay, I'm going to learn and then I'm going to execute. But what I wanted to do was just learn. And then I'm going to get to the executing thing at some point. Maybe when I feel a little bit more comfortable, or maybe when I'm more confident, or maybe when I have a team that can do all of this stuff, I'll execute. But it was like, no, you got to actually do the work. So for me, like, that changed everything. Was literally knowing what I need to do and doing it. Like, even if I'm uncomfortable, one of the things I used to feel really uncomfortable with was sales. It's like, oh my goodness, because the rejection, because I went through rejection, and it was always a tough thing. And then that was like, I was taking it personally. And then like, I would be in the bed like, oh my goodness, I really wanted that. Like, and that was like, if you're going to win at this thing, you gotta toughen up. So yeah, I don't want to go on a rant, but yeah, that was what I had to do. And so I know that I'm going to have to do a real launch like a lunch. Like I've launched before, but it's not my favorite thing to do. But guess what? As a CEO, everything is not going to be your favorite thing to do. So, yeah.
That part. Yeah. So to that point, what was the jumping off point for you to execute? Did you get an accountability partner? Was it with your husband? Like, what gave you that extra push to finally execute after learning so much information? Because we share that in common. I love learning stuff, but yeah, like for me, I know it takes accountability partners. I gotta have people behind me like, okay, you can start now. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, I had to make up my mind, one, that I was going to do it. And I had to address the underlying issue, which was imposter syndrome and a lack of confidence. Because I had invested in several masterminds, gone to the conferences, took the notes, got the t-shirt. I knew what to do. So it's not like I didn't know what to do. I knew what to do, but I was afraid to put myself out there. I was afraid to be rejected. I was afraid, like, well, what if I do all of this work and then nobody buys the thing I'm selling? So that was what really kept me from doing it, because it was like, I don't want to pour all of that into it, because I'm an achiever. Like, if I feel like I'm not going to win at it, then there's going to be some reservation and I'm not going to show up like I need to show up. And so I had to be honest with myself, start holding myself accountable. One of the things I teach on is self-leadership. Self-leadership is aligning your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, and your habits with your goals. So when I started implementing that, yes, I had accountability partners within those masterminds, but even with those, I had been in some before and we all were the same. Like we would do it for a month or two and then the group would fizzle out. So it was like, okay, Jessica, you're going to have to hold yourself accountable first. And then once you learn how to do that, once you learn how to say, okay, I'm not doing this because, like, I got to be honest. Okay, you didn't do the webinar your coach told you to do because. So say it. You were afraid that you were going to be on there by yourself. Like, that's why you didn't do it. Because you didn't want to go through setting it up, doing all of this stuff, and it's just you and maybe one person on there. So I had to be honest with myself about why I wasn't taking the action, why I wasn't executing. And so when I would do that, then it was like, okay, so you're afraid. So what do you need to do to ensure that it's not just you and one person? Right? So you got to create some content. You got to market. You got to post. You got to do all these. So that's where it came from. The masterminds help a lot, but you still have to be willing to do that self work on yourself. And one of the things I often say is self-honesty and self-awareness. Like, those are the two things you must have. You got to be self-aware. You got to know where you get stuck. You got to know, like, okay, I have this repeating negative thought. I have these ruminating thoughts that will not stop. Like, just identify the thing. Don't think that identifying it is saying you agree with it. It's saying, okay, this is what's happening and I got to fix this.
That's good. Thank you for sharing that. For those watching and listening, run that all the way back. Like that section right there. So many good gems in there. I love that. I love that. Well, definitely looking forward to the book that is coming out. I love that. Yeah. In the meantime, where can people find you, interact with you, follow you, all the good stuff?
Absolutely. So I have a YouTube channel with over 500 videos. So I've got a ton of video content on YouTube. LinkedIn, Dr. Jessica Houston. I'm on Instagram at Dr. Jess Houston. And then my website is drjessicahouston.com. And for your audience, make sure you buy your name.
Okay. That part.
Okay, do that.
That part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I'm glad you said that. Like, just very recently, like within the last month, I was finally able to reclaim mine. Like, I had it before. This was many, many years ago, long before I understood business and how it works. Someone else had gotten the domain name for me, built the website for me. But then like our communication about the website, like we never did any follow-up communication about it, and it just lapsed. And of course, once it does, that domain is available for anybody to buy. Anybody. So GoDaddy came back around. I saw an email and like I went in there and it's like, this domain is now available. I was like, got it. Bought the full 10-year thing too. I was like, this is mine. Nobody else will ever get this again.
Yes. Yeah. There are some people who have had to pay out thousands of dollars just to buy their name because somebody saw what they were doing and they were like, oh, you don't have your name? Oh, okay. You'll want it one day.
Exactly. People don't realize that is a whole business model. Like digital real estate is its own business model. So if you're looking for a way to make money, that might be one. That might be one. But anyway, Dr. Jess, please, if there's anything else, the floor is open for you. If there's anything else you want to share with our audience, feel free.
Yeah, I just want everyone who is tuning in to recognize that they have it. Like, stop looking for it. You don't need to be validated by anyone. Like, you just need to recognize that whatever it is that you want to accomplish, it's all in here. It's in your heart. It's up here too, but it's in here. It's that power of your gift. You've been given gifts. You've been given talents. You've been given skills. You've been given experiences. All of that will come together to create a powerful book. And so if you've been sitting on it, I need you to reach out to Melissa T and get that thing popping. I'll be reaching out to her too.
I'm here.
Yes, let's go.
Let's go. Thank you so much for being on the show. You guys follow her, like go follow her. If you need the extra jolt of motivation or the brass tacks, like actual practical stuff, she got you. Okay. So appreciate you, Jess, and you're welcome back on the show anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Was that a dope conversation or what? Please be sure to follow Dr. Jessica Houston. If you're interested in her previous 2 books, by all means, head to her website, learn more about those books over there. Or you can do an Amazon search, like literally put her name in quotes, Dr. Jessica Houston, and you'll be able to find her stuff. But in the meantime and between time, as always, subscribe here. You can subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube at Getting the Win. Follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Threads at Getting the Win Show. And I am on LinkedIn at Melissa Thomas. For our audio files, you can look up the Getting the Win Show on Spotify. Okay? But make sure you're tuning in next Wednesday at 6 p.m. for another great episode. And as always, come ready to take notes. In the meantime, in between time, have a great and productive rest of your Wednesday and a great and productive rest of your week. Peace.